In sports, there's always been something that connects the players we love with the moments we share. And there's always been someone to comment and announce during those times. In the wake of Detroit Tigers broadcaster Jim Price's passing, we'll take a moment to remember some of the most iconic play callers from the history of Major League Baseball and the memorable descriptions they provided to both listeners and viewers. Jim Price actually played the catcher position for the Tigers between the seasons in 1967 to 1971, primarily as backup for Bill Freehand. He posted a career .214 batting average with 18 homers and 71 RBIs over 216 games. Part of the World Series 1968 Tigers team, he retired after 7 seasons. And a few years after that, he began his broadcasting career, starting by covering softball at the APSPL World Series in 1979. It wasn't until 1993 that he got in with the Detroit Ball Club as a color commentator. Then, in 1999, he was blessed with the opportunity to work alongside the Hall of Famer Ernie Harwell and ended up with the current commentator, Dan Dickerson, during the 2002 season. He called the Almost Perfect Game by Armando Galarraga, where Don Kelly blew the call at first. That would have been the final out in the 9th. He was also there when Miggy Cabrera won the Triple Crown in 2012, hit his 500th home run, got his 3,000th hit, and was there at every game up until his passing on the 3rd of this month. Rest in peace. Next, when you think of the LA Dodgers team, players like Jackie Robinson and Sandy Koufax come to mind. Some older MLB fans might remember Walter Alston, Tommy Lasorda, Joe Torre, or Don Mattingly of more recent years. Yet, when watching a baseball game or listening to them on the radio, there was always that constant, reliable voice on the other end of the feed. Some even think of the iconic movie, The Sandlot, where Benjamin Franklin Rodriguez sported the blue and white LA cap. Yet, when you look back on the historic home run Kirk Gibson hit in the '88 World Series, the voice of a certain Vin Scully can be heard, saying,
"And look who's coming up,"
as he goes to the plate, and then shouting,
"High fly ball into right field, she is gone!"
He was also there when Koufax tossed a perfect 9 innings, and for the milestone call of Hank Aaron's 715th round tripper, saying,
"Fastball is a high drive into deep left center field. Buckner goes back to the fence. It is gone."
As Aaron became the home run king, surpassing the Sultan of SWAT, Babe Ruth. Maybe the play that'll blow your mind is when Mookie Wilson hits a dribbler up the first baseline, and Bill Buckner whiffs on the play, allowing the ball to go past him into the outfield. After a wild pitch allowed the tying run to score.
3-2 to Mookie Wilson. Little roller up along first, behind the bag. It gets through Buckner.
And Vin Scully ends the match with the words,
"Here comes Knight and the Mets win it."
Vin Scully passed on August 2nd, 2022. Thanks for all the amazing calls, and may he rest in peace. Possibly the most famous of them all, the master of the 7th inning stretch, Harry Carey, who's mostly known for his longevity in the game, broadcasted for the St. Louis Cardinals from 1945 to 1969 with Jack Buck. After that, he went west to announce for the Oakland A's for a season in 1970. But he didn't stay there and found a post for the Southside squad in Chicago from 1971 to 1981. It was here with the White Sox that he had his most memorable moments as a commentator, especially when we heard Carey singing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game" during his time in Chicago. Fans would respond with amazing energy, bursting into song and singing along with him. This carried on into his time at Wrigley with the North Side Chicago team, the Cubs, from 1982 to 1977. During that time, he created a new image, one similar to Rodney Dangerfield, but at the ballpark, one of a commentator who was loved by everyone. He passed on February 18, 1998. Rest in peace. There are some talents that run in the family. Generational talents have been witnessed in the major leagues. The Griffey family comes to mind. Then you have the Molinas and the Guerrero family. In the broadcast booth, we're fortunate enough to have many different talented voices grace the radio, becoming the voice of their franchises and being immortalized in the moments they cover. Jack Buck, father of current commentator Joe Buck of Fox Sports, covered the St. Louis Cardinals during the time Harry Carey was there. But in the 70s, after the legend moved to the West to cover the Athletics, Buck had the booth to himself well into the 90s. He was known for being professional yet creative, allowing himself to be moved by the moment, but aware enough to make sure the listeners were in on the action too. Having called some of the more impressive feats from Cardinals teams that had talents like Stan Musial, Bob Gibson, Lou Brock, and the Wizard Ozzie Smith. The most memorable call could be the time that Ozzie Smith stepped up to the plate in Game 5 of the 1985 World Series. And on his first pitch at bat, we get to hear Buck say,
Smith corks one into right down the line. It may go. Go crazy, folks. Go crazy. It's a home run, and the Cardinals have won the game.
There was also the more recent call of Big Mac's 61st home run that tied him with Roger Maris in 1998. After he hits the ball, we hear Jack Buck say,
Here it comes to McGuire. Swing! Look at there! Look at there! Look at there! McGuire's number 61. McGuire's flight 61, headed for Planet Maris. Home run McGuire, 61. History. Bedlam. What a moment. Shaking hands with the third baseman of the Cubs. Pardon me while I stand up and applaud.
Jack Buck passed on June 18, 2002. Rest in peace. Now, who could be more iconic than the greats Jack Buck, Vin Scully, and Harry Carey? Considered by some to be the first major iconic voice in baseball media, Mel Allen covered the Yankees several times. The first was all the way from 1940 to 1964. He was there for DiMaggio's 56-game hitting streak and Lou Gehrig's luckiest man on the face of the earth speech. He got to see Mickey Mantle start and finish his career, and watch Roger Maris tee off on 61 baseballs, setting the record for home runs in a single season. But then, he was unceremoniously let go after CBS purchased 80% of the team. After going between a few different teams, he eventually landed back in New York with the Yankees in the late 70s. In 1973, George Steinbrenner bought back that 80% from CBS, which led to the return of Mel Allen. This era in Yankees baseball saw the record 5-year contract signing of Catfish Hunter, with a similar deal being signed by Reggie Jackson 2 years later. In the late 70s, he went on to focus on a television show, This Week in Baseball, in which he introduced a new generation of viewers to the game in 1977. In '79, the Yankees were shell-shocked by the loss of team captain Thurman Munson, and the organization then came out with another record-setting contract, this time a 10-year deal with Dave Winfield. Mel Allen eventually left the broadcast booth in the mid-'80s to focus solely on his TV program. But before he did, there was a pine tar incident that he was present for. You can hear him say,
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
After George Brett crushed one into the right field stands. He says,
And now the Royals have the one-run lead. George Brett has just homered, and Billy Martin and the Yankees want the bat.
Then, as the umpires made the decision, you can hear him say,
Brett is out, and
He's steaming mad.
he is out and having to be forcibly restrained from hitting plate umpire Tim McClellan.
He continued to narrate for This Week in Baseball well into the 90s for the rest of his life. He passed away June 16, 1996. Rest in peace. This video started with Jim Price's passing, but we wanted to give a few moments to all the great announcers who have passed away. Who's your favorite announcer? Let us know if you have one. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next one.